Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time from Rapper Kirby 3K. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this time, we're going to be talking about the 2008 film Speed Racer. Which, yes, this is the DVD, which just has a tour of the movie set and meet the drivers. So not too much for features. But yeah, this is a film that came out, and I never saw Speed Racer. I know of the theme song. I know of the intro, the car turns, he jumps up, that pose. Go Speed Racer, go! Go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go! That's as far as I know about the source material. And maybe that's how a lot of people felt when this film came out. So I don't know if the name, if the character, if the IP was either known well enough or cared well enough by a good section of the population to ever make this a big box office hit. Although, that's not really fair to say, because look at Guardians of the Galaxy and look how much money they made, so maybe that's not fair to say. Also, I think by this time, the Wachowskis, who directed this, they kind of made a bad name for themselves from the public eye. Now, I like the Matrix sequels, 2 and 3, I mean. I like Matrix Reloaded, and I like Matrix Revolutions. I saw them in the theater when they came out. I thought they were really fun. I was satisfied with them. Here's the issue. I was one of the few, one of the few that was satisfied with them. The majority of people were not. And so, then, even though those films made money, it, for a lot of people, left a bad taste in their mouths. So then, okay, what are they going to do? Whatever, I don't care. Oh, if the Wachowskis made it, like the guys who made those, well, they're not guys anymore, but at the time they were guys. Oh, the ones who made those Matrix sequels, psh, yeah, okay. And then you have a younger up-and-coming guy like Emile Hirsch as the star of the film. I think people didn't know what to make of it. And when it came out, it was style over substance. And they're right. It is style over substance. But goddamn, was the substance... What was lacking the substance, the style was a technicolor assault on the senses, and I enjoyed it. Now, not everybody did. A lot of people got very annoyed by the kinetic style of the film. A lot of people hated the special effects of the film and the way it was done. It is very cartoony, over the top, but I guess in this, it made more sense to me in a Speed Racer movie. Which is funny, some of this shit would be in Fast and Furious movies, the later ones, and, you know, a lot of people try to let it go, or they laugh, oh yeah, those silly Fast and Furious movies. But at the same time, like I say, it makes more sense in this with the type of cartoony world. Like it's consistent with the tone. And I just really appreciate the ambition this film had. Because so many movies nowadays do not have a lick of ambition. Not an inch, not a mile of ambition. I really appreciate what the Wachowskis did with this. And you know what? Watch it again. Yeah, it was an assault on the senses, but damn it felt fresh. It's like if someone took, let's say, the the world of CG that you would see in Sin City, right? But take that Sin City style, but then let's turn up to a bubblegum, adrenaline fueled, ADD, ricochet off the wall, y'all type of mentality that wore a lot of people out. And I can understand it, but I liked the film when I first saw it. I really liked it, watch it again. It was fun to watch. It was rather entertaining. Now, the plot is not going to win any awards. Like I said, it is style over substance. I mean, the plot is just Emile Hirsch is a speed racer. His parents are played by Susan Sarandon and John Goodman. This is a kid who has always loved racing ever since back in the day. In classes, he would visualize himself racing. He would fall in love with this girl, Trixie, later played by Christina Ricci. And he has a younger brother and a monkey. Well, the younger brother, yeah, these two characters here. Let's see, there you go. So you see a little bit there. And there's a past where the older brother had died, and it definitely crushed the family. Now Speed Racer's winning these races, being very successful. He's asked by, as we could tell, is the bad guy. He pretty much has bad guy written on his forehead. Evil CEO, race for me. Now we don't trust money-hungry organizations. And they're right, because they fix all the races, and if you don't race for me, then you'll get nowhere in the business. They team up with this mysterious figure, Racer X, played by Matthew Fox, which is, he's been in a few films. Alex Cross is the main villain. He was in Vantage Point with Dennis Quaid. I do like the actor. I thought he did a good job here. Remind me a little bit of like an Aaron Eckhart Thomas Jane vibe to him, which to me is a good thing. And pretty much we did a shitload of races, and he can't be stopped. And I mean, just the way the transitions are, where it's just an onslaught of, we're watching characters, an explosion happens, but then now go into another transition, and the way the races are, it's just such a big swirling bit of energy, and it's like playing F-Zero the video game, with how the worlds are and how you can just go up and down and all around this big future with all these colors all around, kaleidoscope of fucking colors that make you puke low. And the car can hippity hop and flip and knock cars over here and there, and it's such fucking insanity. And I know usually I'd complain about that stuff, but at the same time, if you're gonna go big, and that's what this film did, and it went so big that I kind of admired the the fucking bubblegum aesthetic, crazy eye candy of it all. Whether it be the kid imagine he's in class, and some of the animation there look like Schoolhouse Rock, you know, back in the day, like that little animation. Or when you got all these swirling cars and visuals, and he's skidding, and then he's visualizing, he's racing his brothers, so him and the past of his brother like racing side by side with each other, and skidding along all the little outskirts of these tracks. Because, like I said, while the story, the evil CEO, and you can't win the race, and I'll make it so you can't win, that's been told many, many times. But it's easy to say, and I'll say it many times before and many times afterward, that, well, that's not original. But then there's the big part of my brain over here that goes, well, is anything truly original? Can you really do anything original anymore? Like, can anything truly be done truly original? Very, very hard to do. So if that's the case, take old stories and tell them differently. Some will fall flat on their faces, which this did on a box office critical note, but for me personally, it was told with a lot of gusto, energy, and creativity that I admired it for it. I really do. It didn't feel pretentious too, and I think unlike I like Matrix Reloaded quite a bit. I think one of the mistakes they made is sometimes their pretension got the best of them. Again, as much as I love Matrix Reloaded, that scene with the Kentucky Fried Chicken looking guy, the colonel of KFC, going this diatribe, what feels like 10 minutes about the theories and the one of itself, and just going on this, I was in the theater for that scene. I could feel the audience literally going, like, huh? That's a movie killer, that type of scene. This didn't do that type of stuff. It just strictly for fun, strictly for entertainment, not to be taken seriously. I mean, there's a bit where they have to race through the desert and like sort of this offshoot race, this more dangerous race. And the bad guys have this rim wheel drill, and the Speed Racer's car gets this blade, and they're fighting it off back and forth like a fucking cartoon, which makes sense because this is based on a fucking cartoon. And so many times this car will do the hippity hop and flip here, flip there, flip to this side of the road, then flip to this side of the road, go upside down in a 360 or a 180. Will flip in order to hit a car so it doesn't hit this other car. It's ridiculous. It's silly. Physics does not exist in this fucking dojo or in the zip code. But something about it still made it where it's like, okay, you tell a joke this far, it's not funny. But if you tell it this far and even go all the way back around, it becomes not just funny, but funnier. And to me, it stuck with its tone. It went with it. It does have some pretty striking visuals in it. I mean, the final race, the way that's edited, of Speed Racer going to the finish line, and all the stuff he's remembering, stuff his mom said, his dad said, his brother back in the day said, this Racer X guy, kind of his new friend, mentor said, the way that's built up and the emotional music. I do think that's when the Speed Racer theme should have popped up, like a more emotional Speed Racer. They used that after the fact during the victory. I think that's the only nitpick I have of that final bit. Is I don't mind the music they're using, but I think if they use like a more emotional Speed Racer theme during all that, I think it would have made it even more epic. But by that point, they had used the Speed Racer theme in other places too, and they didn't want to use it too much. But again, just the way that scene's built up and just going towards the finish line to the point that there's a bit that reminds me of 2001: A Space Odyssey. If you've seen the film with the eyeball, you see all the different colors. There's a bit where you've seen and just the world just converges into a rainbow kaleidoscope that just I appreciate a movie like this going for it. Because you don't see that nowadays. You don't. And I mean, whether it be throughout the film, you got John Goodman. I mean, the cast: Susan Sarandon, John Goodman, good actors. John Goodman, you find out he's a wrestling champ and he's body slamming, flipping ninjas. Yeah, you do have. I mean, come on, you gotta have ninjas in this type of film, and there's fighting against ninjas. Although Emile Hirsch is not the best physical fighter, at least based in the movie, because sometimes his punches seem very slow and sluggish. So I don't know if that was on purpose or if Emile Hirsch didn't really get the choreography right or they didn't train him well enough. But I thought that the acting, like Emile Hirsch and Matthew Fox and the others, I thought the acting was rather good for what kind of movie this is. The way scenes transition to make it flow from one to the other. The way they made things pop up like it was, I want to say like comic book, but kind of like an anime. I mean, there's literally bits where the younger brother and the chimpanzee, they're like play fighting and they go into like anime styles and the background's like anime. Or there's a flashback of Racer X where they show how powerful, how good he is of a driver, and he's defeating these bad guys. And there's like the cars over here, and he's battling this big machine here, and Racer X is shooting all these missiles, and it comes off like a live action anime, which is what the Wachowskis were going for. And I would say this film's a bit underrated for entertainment and just chaos, colorful. If Skittles had an orgasm, like if Skittles could have an orgasm, it'd be kind of this movie. But that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. There's going to be people going, "Oh my God, this is obnoxious and irritating, and will give people headaches." Never did. It never gave me a headache though. Never did, and like I said, the camera tricks the Wachowskis were doing, like there's a bit where Christina Ricci's driving here and Emile Hirsch is driving here, so the camera going back to her, then pulls back to him in his car, then goes back to her and back to him. Like I said, it does get ridiculous and silly, and again, if you even attempt to look into physics, your brain will explode in 0.8 seconds. Just if you just watch the final race alone, an amount of flips and dodging these spikes, and there's a bit where one bad guy tries to hook with this thing called a spear hook, and speed racer is able to flip it to turn so the camera sees that the other guy's cheating. The final race when there's like these two cars and somehow Speed Racer has his car hook the two cars as if you like imagine a person grabbing two people and throwing around like Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, or I should say, the Chinese connection I meant. Like Bruce Lee's the Chinese connection, and he's like, if you've seen the scene and Bruce Lee like teases two guys and throws it around, but they're really dummies. That's pretty much just a spid CGI or steel orgasm of somehow a car grabs two cars and swings it around. And I'm like, oh God, this looks ridiculous. And it's hard to say that the CGI is convincing, but just the insanity, and you see the cars collide in slow motion, and it goes through, and then all the kaleidoscope. It's insane, but yet I had a smile on my face. It's hard to even explain now as to why. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I appreciate the ambition. You can't call this a lazy movie. And it made me feel a sense of fun. Just childlike fun. Kind of like take the insanity of how you would think as childhood and embrace it. And I think that's what it is. It embraced what it was trying to be and didn't hold back. Yeah, we may get ridiculed. Yeah, we may be looked at as like, that's too silly, too goofy. But it embraced it. It went at it with gusto. And I appreciated it and I had quite a bit of fun with it. So, and like I said, I liked the cast. Like I said, Emile Hirsch, not bad at all as the lead. Christina Ricci, beautiful in the film. John Goodman, love him as an actor, from Arachnophobia to The Big Lebowski. He's great in this. Susan Sarandon, wonderful actress. Matthew Fox, I like. You also have Hiroyuki Sanada. Before he would do films like Bullet Train, all this stuff, he's in this. Richard Roundtree, may he rest in peace. He's one of the sportscasters. I think Art LaFleur, who I remember from the Blob remake from 1988, among others, I think he's one of the announcers as well in a couple scenes, or at least one or two scenes. Now, I could do without, and I'm sure this was in the cartoon, the kid and the monkey scenes. I didn't really care for them, to be perfectly honest. I mean, they were there, and I'm sure that's a remnant of the cartoon, but I didn't really care for their characters. I didn't care for their hijinks. I mean, they weren't... The kid wasn't awful. Like, he was not an awful actor at all. It's just I wasn't interested in what they were doing or saying. Maybe it's not the kid. It's more the monkey, the chimpanzee. It is what it is. It's not like you ruined the film. It's not like, oh my god, it was so egregious and stuff. It just wasn't. If I have a least favorite part, it would be that. I just didn't think their shtick was that funny. I will admit sometimes the little kid, his delivery actually wasn't too shabby, and I think the little kid did what he could with the lines he was given and the fact that he said them, and if I'm being fair, he was not annoying. He wasn't annoying. He wasn't irritating. I think he did what he could. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's cute. Let's get back to the racing bits, which there's a lot of that in this movie. And thank goodness for that too. It's not one of those. It's called Speed Racer, but then it's only in it for 10 minutes. Just trust me. There's a lot of movies that what you're going for there's only a little bit of that. No, most of the movie is that. So I can at least appreciate that. They kind of, I would say, knew what the audience wanted, which is how a lot of times they were back in the day, but not so much nowadays. But other than that, probably the last film the Wachowskis did that I liked, honestly. Because I did not like the fourth Matrix film. Cloud Atlas. Nah. Yeah, but this is probably the last one the Wachowskis did I liked. And again, this is before they transitioned, or however you want to call it. So, but yeah, overall, like I said, like the cast, Ricci as Trixie. She's willing to punch a bitch out for her man, even as a kid. Her character sees someone making fun of Speed Racer, and Trixie just punches her out. I'm like, oh, I like this Trixie lady. So, yeah, it was fun. It was a fun film. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.